or bugs. So bugs are a consequence of what we do, not our goal. That's my argument. Yeah. Next one. Testers don't own testing. We have to let go. Be a test master. Be expert in test, but don't necessarily be a tester or be running a test team. Testing is about collecting information on achievement. And collecting information on achievement, oh, I'm a tester, that doesn't ring true. What I'm really trying to say is that the testing is something more than finding bugs. So we have to step up and be positioned, ready to take that responsibility. And more I see people, I think I blogged last week where testing services companies are beginning to drop the word testing. I don't know if you noticed this. They're beginning to talk about assurance, which is a better word, I think. Not quality assurance, assurance. Trust that we're doing the right thing. And that the thing we've done is trustworthy. That's a different regime than testing. Be a test master, or something better. The phase after development is rework, not testing. There's no such thing as the system test phase. It's rework. For too long, we have taken responsibility for the lack of high quality in the delivery from software developers. What happens in a system test phase? We get stressed out. We find lots of bugs. We never have enough time. We do this, we do that, we do the other. In the meantime, the developers are working furiously to fix the things they should have had working earlier. When people were saying death to the test phase, they were saying this. Let us expose the developers for what they are, human, and allow them the time to do their job properly. But what about the system test phase? Well, the testing is going to happen a little and often. That's where we should be. Testing should happen in parallel with development. Now, don't get me wrong. When someone ships a piece of code, which has to be integrated with other pieces of code, and a whole string of teams are delivering into a very large integration environment, integration testing doesn't fall into that category. Integration testing and large-scale acceptance testing, sure, that's testing. But development has built-in testing. It must be that way, because there will not be time to do it at the end. That's the point. So, the phase after development is rework. And this, I don't know if I've said this or not. Yeah, I think I've said all that. So, okay, it's my last slide, I think. So, the manual test phase, such that it is, has to be replaced with upfront automation wherever possible. Automation, I mean, people have been saying this for years and years and years. Automate, automate, automate. And the tool vendors have been flogging tools endlessly and made fortunes out of it because the conditions weren't right. Okay? But now I think people are beginning to put things in place to make the conditions right, to take advantage of automation. Interestingly, I suspect it won't be commercial tools that do all the work for us. It'll be open source. Fantastic. It's all free as well. Integrated with code change and software delivery. The tester and the developer, potentially you're thinking of working as a pair. I've written it, you've tested it, we'll ship it. There is no test phase because it's never had a bug in the first place, because we tested as we went. Now that's very ambitious and a bit ideal world, whatever. But I think this is the pressure that we're going to be put under. I think when people start discovering, you know what, let's call the system test phase rework. Let's just call it that and put it on the plan. Everybody is going to focus on that and saying, how the hell can we reduce that? And they won't be asking the testers, they'll be asking the developers to reduce it. And wouldn't that be good? Takes the pressure off us, because we provide information. We deal in information. We don't write code, we don't put bugs in, we don't take bugs out. So why the hell do we have a phase where we are accountable for the rework, which is at the moment is what happens a lot of the time. So as testers, we have to embrace this change. I think the change is happening. Various companies, it's already happened. Some, it's years away. Who knows? There's a hype cycle going on, isn't there? We're all somewhere on this hype cycle. But we have to embrace the change and take control of it and not be agiled. Okay? Most people who do Agile don't do Agile. They've been agiled. It's been done to them. They haven't taken ownership. They haven't led it. We have to try and catch this one. So make that leap and stand up. Thank you. So I'll take that question, whoever had it. Go for it. They have very small teams working on very focused requirements and changes. It's all enhancements to existing software. You don't build a system in a day, do you? Now, the other thing we need to bear in mind is when I talk about 24-hour deliveries, it's delivery into an environment. That doesn't necessarily mean production. What you might do is do 60 deliveries every day, 60 deliveries in 60 days, and then go live. Or you might do the 60 deliveries into an environment, which is the production environment, but then test in that environment on software that is not yet exposed to the outside world. Or you might do what's called A/B testing, and there's red-blue testing, and there's several mechanisms you can use to reduce the risk of delivering a disaster. And companies are also doing 2 versions of the software, and they watch how they both perform, and they'll say that's no good, they'll switch that off, whatever. And it's all based on the performance in production. And that's why all this instrumentation to capture what's being called big data now, that's what they mean. This real-time stuff which is going to drive behaviors very quickly. So it's not about delivering to production and doing very, very risky things every day. That's not what it's about. I don't want to give that impression, but the mechanism allows you to deliver and deliver and deliver. So by the time you go live, you have delivered 60 times. So you trust what you've done. If you don't deliver for 60 days and then say, let's go live, you've never done it before. It might go all terribly wrong. And that's one of the risks that continuous delivery reduces. That's why people like it, I think. Okay, so let me repeat the question. So how do you make sure your A/B testing is safe? A/B releases are safe. That is, you ship 2 versions, or there are mechanisms, well, you test it first, kind of, and it probably as a mechanism, it exists in the code already. And also, developers will be designing on the basis of being able to do A/B testing and stuff like that. But I can't explain because you need a whiteboard, and but disconnecting databases and running things in parallel, and all things are possible. If you ask a developer, how can we do this, he will probably figure out a way of doing it. And what's happening more and more is people are beginning to get the hang of doing this in production. So the sites that are massive out there change every day. They do it every single day. You might not notice, but these things change almost every day. The really, really biggest sites, the Amazons and the eBays and Google and whatever, they're all shipping code endlessly, repeatedly, and then withdrawing it, some of it, because they think that doesn't work. So they take it out again. And you never realize, unless you've been a user of it, or unless you've experienced the bug, and then you notice the bug's fixed. But that behavior, I think, is filtering down to organizations of much smaller scale. But then you might say, wait a minute, I work for a bank. We can't possibly be that agile to deliver every day. Do you want to bet? Every bank ships new software every day to fix bugs. Of course they do. Don't they? Does anyone work for a bank? Do you ship bug fixes every day? He can't say. He can't tell you. But he's smiling broadly. So what does that tell you?
Anyways, thanks. Paul, my question is, let me ask the question. Probably I'm doing the introspection from your, talk. Can I say that finally we are going back to the old world, or the, a Stone Age, wherein even the engineers, they used to design the bridges and all, I think what used to work for them is the experience. Say that experience, the judgment has nothing, no methodology can, shift that. So for example, you talk about the continuous delivery, correct, mechanism, where is nothing but a combination again of agile plus structured plus whatever. So basically again hybrid.
Oh yes.
So I think net, aren't we saying there's nothing but a judgment? I use the judgment, it works for me, it works. Then you give the name to that as a methodology, whatever you want to give. So is it right to say that, again the judgment comes into the picture rather than any methodology, what will work for you?
A judge, I think...
Probably I complicated the question. But
No. Well, one thing, when the word judgment, let me pick on that one first. Do we ever run a test where we don't have, and then we have to decide to go live or delay? Do we ever have the data that we need to say, absolutely, we're convinced this is a perfect system, go live? Even when all the tests pass, we still doubt that we've had the right tests run. So we still use judgment. So that judgment is never going to disappear. We're going to do it in very small increments, perhaps. I think what I do think is this, is what we call agile today will be really helpful, but that's not the destination. Agile, as we understand it today, is a stepping stone towards something else. Some hybrid of some structure, some increased and dramatic increase in automation, plus agile behaviors. I don't know what you call it. I've no idea. If I knew what it was, I'd say that's what it is, and I'd write a book and I'd be a millionaire in 10 years, Because that's what happens, isn't it? But it won't be me that does that. Someone else will do that. But that's what I think is going to happen.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Gerard.
Question. I am Rakesh.
There's two mics. Which one?
Okay. So my question is about the phase after development is rework, is what you mentioned. That's very interesting. But then I'm just thinking, how can this be applicable for the regulated industries like medical device development? Because end of the day, you'll definitely wait for all the hardware components, mechanical, electrical, everything before you put in your software into the box and then start doing the system testing. So how do we really apply this, or is this applicable only for the enterprise level?
So I call it medical devices and high integrity stuff. It doesn't. This is for online businesses, obviously. And maybe other businesses, but online businesses is the obvious place to adopt this kind, or where the manager of that online business will say, this is how it's going to be. If you're building safety critical software, for example, I think you still have to follow the the regulatory authorities will publish standards and processes you've got to follow, and documentation and audit you, and that's not going to change. No. So, but some of the ideas might be useful. So continuous delivery, I don't see why you still can't do that. You wouldn't release into a production environment in a continuous way, but it's not a bad thing to do a build every day and test it every day in a production environment. That can only be a positive thing. It might be expensive and not worth it, but it will add to your knowledge and confidence of the product. I don't think you would be delivering a different version of the software into a heart defibrillator every day or whatever. I don't think that would work, no. But one day it will happen, of course, because everything will be on the net, won't it? You'll get downloads. You'll be having your heart attack and saying, do you want to accept this download, this upgrade? I'm being facetious, but I think this is not for everybody, absolutely not. But some of the ideas, I think, are appropriate universally. Continuous delivery is one of them. I think it's a very positive thing, but not into production. Yeah, sorry, sir.
Hi, I'm Rakesh. My question is more related to, I think you said correctly, like testing, people can actually move into little bit of business analysis here because they have that kind of knowledge and thinking, because their perspective is based on thinking about scenarios and all. So I feel, yeah, that could be possible going forward. But our industry is because developers are not doing their job. So if I say company has 100 people and when we do performance appraisal, okay, only 20% people are like top performers, correct? So 80% are like average performers. So when we say, like, development people, how are they going to do testing properly? Because our first problem area in the industry is requirement gathering.
So the first problem is, say that
So
again?
requirement gathering is the main problem, plus
Yep.
20% developers they are good. Like, they are, so
Okay.
how are they going
I
to,
quote
like,
you.
how 80% are going to do proper development plus testing and
Well, we have to, absolutely, not everybody is a top performer. And I think it's said in many disciplines, and I think programming is one of them, that the best guys are 20 times as good as the least good guys. But we have to deal with that. The best testers, probably, are 20 times as effective as the less good ones.
so maybe tester can get into development area. That would be.
Yeah. So I don't know if that is something that we just have to deal with as humanity, because not all of us are perfect. But if you think about it, if we have a good tester creating test cases, checks through exempling stories, which are then transformed into automated checks, if we don't trust our developers, we write more and better checks. If we do trust our developers to do their own testing, maybe we do less. But it's a conversation we should have. It's a collaboration. It's not us and them. And I think that's more important. It's not about saying, at the end of the test phase, we've just got to work with these guys. It is about a collaboration, because the knowledge required to build good software is partly in the heads of the programmer and partly in the head of the person who has to figure out whether this stuff works. And good programmers can test their own code very reliably, but there are very few of them. Not because testing is such a difficult thing to do, it's because their head's in a different place. You know, their vision is, their purpose in life, their goal in life is to write code, not to test it. And maybe that will change. Maybe that will change, I don't know. But I don't know how we deal, I haven't got anything to say on whether this will work better or worse in environments where the developers are
Maybe
variable.
even they don't get the time, correct? Because they have a time problem.
Well, they have a
They
time
might
problem.
need 10 hours, but they have been given 6 hours.
They have a
So-
time problem because either they're working on poor requirements or they're fixing bugs. And they're not doing their job. They're not doing their job because we are not as good at defining the behavior of software as we should be, and we don't give them enough help. And giving them good stories with examples of how their features should work should help them. So I think it's a positive thing. I can't think of a reason not to do it, put it that way. Except politically, someone might want to be defending their turf.
I mean, say it is possible actually, because if they would be given a better, means little bit of more time and that kind of a role, maybe they will do it.
I mean, the little diagram I showed you about redistributing the testing, there are no numbers on there. Try it, see what happens. You know, figure out where people's time is going, and if you have confidence in the data you collect, make a decision on it. But I can't tell you what data to collect, other than where do people's time go? And if people are spending all their time doing rework, don't forget the system test phase is where all these developers are still on the team. Why are they there? They're doing rework. You must know the cost of that. If the whole team is still working 6, 8, 10 weeks into system testing, that's costing you a fortune. If you could eliminate some of that, maybe not all, that must be a massive saving. And it will reduce the amount of time they spend figuring out what to do next. So their development phase, I believe, will also reduce. So it's a positive thing. I think. I'm not going to argue any stronger than just say that's what I believe. Personally, that's what I do, you know, my own program. That's how I behave now. I'm kind of convinced of my own kind of, I eat my own dog food, you know. Kind of works for me.
Thank you.
But it feels like it, let me tell you this, it feels like it works for me. I feel more confident